Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mary Hartman. I'm the newly elected chair of the Select Board, and so thank you for taking the time to come here. As I was preparing for this meeting, I was asking myself, why do we even have these meetings? And it might be obvious to you, but I think one of the benefits of these is that we make personal connections with each other so that we can hopefully cooperate on common issues. I mean, we're all bonded by a wish for good outcomes for the town, but there are some places where connections between committees really matter, like the Transportation Advisory and the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, or the Economic Vitality and the Planning. And there are several committees where having good personal relationships can, good morning, Mark, can bring better outcomes for us all. So today, I just want to help us all get grounded as we enter a new fiscal year. Many of you have already had meetings where you've elected officials or re-elected officials, so we should be having a turnover in chairs and clerks. The other thing I'd like you to pay attention to is who is your select board liaison. We have a handout here which actually lists all of the liaisons. It would be really helpful if you would reach out to your select board liaison, because the select board liaison will help you make appointments to your committee, will help advocate for whatever is of interest to you at select board meetings. And the other thing I'd like us to think about is relooking at our charge. This might be a really good time for everybody to read the charge that was issued by the select board when the committee was formed, and just see, is that relevant? Is that still relevant to the work we're doing? And if not, you can rewrite it with your liaison. So I would really encourage you to make a connection with your liaison. And finally, as far as most committees will be developing goals for this fiscal year, and the Envision Concord document is still a living document. It was put together with a lot of hard work from a lot of people. So quickly looking at what are the goals there and how they relate to your work I think would be helpful to you to align your goals with the overall town goals. So with that, I will say that I've made these meetings hybrid. I started by saying that one of the main benefits of this is making connections. I think connections are better made when we're in person. I realize that people have busy lives, but whenever possible, I'm going to ask people to come in person. We will continue with hybrid, but in person I think works better for us all. So I'll stop talking and I'll go around the room. We want to hear from you. Let me see. I'll start. Carmen.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Carmen Reese, the town moderator. We finished town meeting. And we're already working on scheduling fiscal year 2025 town meeting. One of the things that happened at town meeting was the town voted to form a town meeting study committee. And I am pleased to report that that committee has been appointed. It has a website page on the town website. Its first meeting will be this evening. And I've looked for, and all of the members are posted on the website in the charge. And there are already some materials there that are background materials for that committee that anyone else is welcome to look at. So I really hope that there'll be robust participation in that committee's work by everyone in town. Send them an email, go to their meetings, and their meetings will be hybrid so that you can attend online or in person. I also want to note that we did do a survey at town meeting this year. We didn't have a huge number of people respond to it. It is posted online, so if you haven't yet responded to the town meeting survey, it is online. It would be great if you would take the time to fill that out for us and let your committees know that it's there. It would be great to have more responses to it. We'll leave it up for another week or two. And then there'll be more surveys by the town meeting study committee. And that's about it from me.
Thanks, Carmen. Mike?
Good morning, Mike Lawson, Chair of the Economic Vitality Committee. We're meeting a monthly meeting next next week, welcoming one new member, although he's been nominated but not appointed, I think, Greg Higgins. And we're continuing to work on goals that we established last year. I don't see Keith Bergman here.
He's
Is he
online.
online?
Yeah, he
Oh,
is online.
Okay, great. That's it for me.
Just checking on Keith.
If he wasn't here, I was going to report on
Oh, I see.
the
Okay,
Housing
good,
Trust.
good.
Thanks.
Burton.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Burton Flint, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, returning chair for one more year. Our article passed at town meeting with some discussion, and I think, well, we're entering in the grant writing process, having received the approval for our proposed funding. Now we go into the grant writing process, then we go into a little bit of a slumber for part of the summer as we solicit new applications for the fall. So that's where we are in the cycle. And one of the things that came out of this year's preparation for town meeting was interest from, I think, FinCom in having more engagement or understanding the process of what our appropriations, for lack of a better term, processes vis-a-vis the town's long-range financial planning. So that's a discussion we want to have this year.
Thanks, Burton. Andrea.
Thank you for having me. I'm Andrea Fountain. I am the executive assistant to the select board in training. I am on day 8 here. Some of my past experience has been I was the executive assistant to the chairman of HP Hood, and prior to that, I was the executive assistant to the president of Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Wow.
I'm very glad to be here and looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sven.
Yes, Sven Weber, Chair of the Public Works Commission. I also be a member of the Warner's Pond Task Force. So on the Public Works Commission, we had our first post-town hall meeting last week. We approved the new water rates. So MCI is going offline for us on the water. That is 12.7% of the revenue that is falling to the sideline. So we had to make up for that. So the water rates will go up by 12.5%. So it literally means it's like you're not making any other adjustments to it. It was just the replacement of the MCI facility on the water rates. So in case there are questions in the community, and people need to understand that that's an effect of MCI.
That's temporary though, right? Well,
we don't know.
that's right. You-
Yeah,
you
so
don't-
and then if something new is getting developed where there's again new demand, then we have we have to see how the debt service for the water treatment, the $50 million kicks in. So we have a plan for with and without
Great.
this thing. The priorities from Public Works this year, setting up the budget and the rates for the stormwater, which was approved. Reviewing the water rates in general, if there's a different structure which punishes perhaps kind of the high water users versus the low water users. Looking a bit how do we deal with the backlog of the road repair, if we want to move that to tier 1 capital or not. So that's roughly that.
Thank you.
I'm Pat Nelson, Middle School Building Committee Co-Chair. We're building a school. It's happening. If you drive by, it's just amazing. Last week, we had a tour of the school with the construction site with our representatives from the professionals who are building the school, and it was just amazing. We will have a Oh, okay. All right.
Can people hear Pat online? Pat, say something. Okay, good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Great. We will be getting a new school committee member as our liaison to the committee, but I don't know who that is yet. So that's all I have to say.
Good morning, Eric Dahlberg, Finance Committee. We are busy preparing for our first post-town meeting. It'll be next Thursday, the 23rd, focused on setting goals and priorities for the year, laying out a big picture timeline with milestones and dates, and assigning liaison assignments. We traditionally appoint liaisons to roughly 12 boards and committees in town. So we don't cover all of them, but if folks think a finance committee liaison would be appropriate this year and you haven't traditionally had one, please reach out, because we're looking to refresh the list, as well as the process we follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Gary Clayton, Chair of the Concord 250 Executive Committee. And we are a group that was established by the board in 2022. We've been meeting every other week since then. It's been very busy. And we have a range of programs and events, some of which have already begun in 2023, and that will accelerate as we approach April 19th, 2025. There's a lot of discussion, work going on relative to planning regarding public safety, as I said, programs and events, and we'll keep you all posted, but we'll simply note that it's 11 months and counting to April 19th, 2025.
I'm Vince Carlson, Chair of the PEG Access Advisory Committee, and we oversee the Comcast activities in town and also oversee Minuteman Media Network. So we're in what look like the final stages of the contract negotiation with the Comcast, and this is a 10-year contract, so the last one was signed in 2014, so we are at 2024. And the negotiations have actually been underway since late last year. So at this point, really the wrap-up we expect will be by the end of the year. The timeline actually expired a couple of months ago, so we're now running under an extension where the same terms apply. And there really are no outstanding issues at this point. It's primarily a matter of scheduling, and the negotiation group expects, as I said, it will be by December of this year. The other thing that we also hope is in kind of final lapse is that we had a charge from the town manager 2 town managers ago, Chris Whalen, to automate the minutes of the meetings. And that coincided also with covering all of the government meetings. That was kind of his first request to what was it, NCCTV, and is now Minuteman Media Network. And that, because of Zoom, is now possible. You know, in other words, particularly as we've seen during the pandemic, it's been possible to cover all of the committees and other governmental functions in town. And that is kind of a gift from COVID. There haven't been too many gifts from COVID, but the Zoom has something now called AI Companion, which maybe you've seen. And so the final process will be that it should be possible to automate the minute taking in kind of an AI fashion of all the committees. That doesn't mean that the clerk is out of a job, because AI, as we know, is fallible. It's not yet perfect. There are issues even with things like the microphone. So there's an equipment issue, and that is one of the charges of MMN, is to make sure that all of the equipment is suitable in all of the committee venues to cover that. However, it's been going quite well so far, so the next step, which we're hoping we can take place before the summer, before the end of June, hopefully, is to get together with Kari Tari and make sure that we have a template, a meeting format that meets all of the open meeting rules. And again, ultimately, this will be an option by the clerk of the committee on how much they want to depend on this, and if they want to do it entirely by, hand in the good old-fashioned way, that will still be possible. But the technology is getting so good, really, a complete, it includes a complete transcript of all of the meetings.
So, Vince, so in order to use the AI function, you have to have a hybrid meeting. Is that correct? Because you're depending upon the Zoom software to capture. So if your meeting is all in person, you can't take advantage of that.
You could, it's just that there wouldn't be anybody at the other end of the line in terms of, somebody signing in
Right,
remotely.
right, okay, okay, thank you.
Comcast is also doing something else. I won't try to cover the details, but they've been facing a lot of competition from what's called cord cutting. You probably, have heard about that in the news at various times. So they've come out with a new pricing structure, or not a new pricing, but an additional set of prices called Comcast Now, which offers internet service for between $30 and $45 a month. That's as fast as many people get under their current Comcast plan for $100 a month. And that is not income restricted. Comcast also, probably most people don't know, also offers a cell phone service. So it's the equivalent of T-Mobile and AT&T and Verizon. They provide that service through Verizon, but again, they have very competitive rates, which they just introduced on this Comcast Now plan.
You're sounding
So-
like an ad for Comcast. We have our own broadband, so I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
Anyway, this information will post on the PEG Access webpage.
Thank you. Dan?
I'm Dan Schmidt from the Ag Committee. We had added a few people, which is really good, and some new officers. Hopefully, we won't have too much rain this summer. It was sort of cold, so things are getting off to a late start, but some of the farm stands are starting to open, so keep your eyes open for that, and it's like, that's about it.
When is Ag Day, Dan?
What's that?
When is Ag Day? It's-
I'm sorry, I should
And
know.
is the first Saturday after Labor Day.
Thank you. So the fall,
Sorry.
great. That's okay. Sorry, pop
It's not-
quiz.
Is the asparagus in yet?
Not
Oh, yeah.
Okay, super.
close.
Great, thank you. Thank you. We'll go in the back.
We probably need to move hand the microphone back
We
there.
do, we do.
Good morning, Peter Lee, Haywood Metal Stewardship Committee. I'm newly appointed, first time attending this. We're part of the NRC. Just a couple short notes. One is that we converted part of the metal to a pollinator metal.
Yeah.
So it looks, portions of it looks not as pristine, but actually much more lush and beautiful. Secondly is that we reached out to the Traffic Advisory Committee recently on safety issues across Haywood Street for pedestrians, especially for next year, 250th. We want it to be perfect. And the pedestrian traffic, there's some safety problems there we are addressing with the TAC.
Thank you. Thank you. Isabel?
Hi, Isabel Bailey, Pollinator Health Advisory Board. June is Pollinator Month, and I'm working with the Fowler Library as to do some events. We will have a pollinator tour. It might be self, or it might be with Delia Kay, our Natural Resource Director, leading a walk or two. We're working on that. If you have planted your native seeds for winter sowing, they are still very tiny. Be sure they don't dry out. And you're not, probably by the end of the month or by next week, it'll be over 50 degrees continuously, so you can open your jugs and let them breathe, but don't let them dry out. As a committee, we could use a few more members. We're looking at our charge. There's some little bit, we missed a meeting this week. It was postponed till next week, but we will be looking at our charge and try to pull it together. I love this new cluster. Be nice to meet with Mark so that we can actually coordinate with other resources.
I got it. Dean Banfield, Chair ex officio of the Solar Implementation Task Force. We wrapped up our work and issued a report, which is now available on the town's website. If you go to the government Solar Implementation Task Force, you'll end up at a landing page and you'll find our final report. We were unable to bring any solar programs to the town meeting this year. There just wasn't enough time to complete most of the prep work to get us a firm number in terms of how much it would cost to do something over at the landfill or something on the roof of the high school. So we were unable to bring anything, but there's a trajectory for the town clearly published in the report of what we can do. And we would expect by next town meeting to see a solar project on the warrant, probably at the landfill.
Thank you. Dennis Fiore, HDC. We are spending a great deal of time these days looking at streamlining our processes. We feel it takes way too long to reach consensus and to make a decision for the community. In many communities, you only get one continuance. Sometimes we go 4 or 5 continuances before we make a decision. And so far, in the 2 meetings we've practiced a new way of looking at applications. It's made a huge difference and is speeding up the process. Along those same lines, we're looking at how much we can turn over administratively to the staff to deal with. For example, under our guidelines, if you want to change your door from dark green to light green, you have to pay a fee, fill out an application, come to a meeting, sometimes wait an hour or so before you get a decision, and we feel it's pretty unfair. So we're looking at where that, without getting to a slippery slope, where that lies, where some administrative, if you want to paint your mailbox black, you need to come before us. So that's the biggest complaints that we get. So we're looking at how that works. And in other communities, they've really expanded what can be done by administrative staff, which really has not eroded what goes on in the historic districts. We're also reviewing our guidelines and trying to figure out a way to update our guidelines very quickly. Last time we redid our guidelines 2 years ago, it took 2 years. And by the time they were done, we needed to redo them again. So we're looking at ways to speed that up, to take into consideration things like solar panels. We've heard about new charging stations. How do we deal with those on properties? And so there are a lot of issues that are coming up. For instance, we have no real guidelines on stone walls, and we do on fences, but not on stone walls. So those sorts of things we're spending some time taking a look at. We also need some new members. We have a member before the select board. We hope you will approve this member soon. So we can bring him on board, and we'd love to have two more members, because without a quorum, we've actually had to cancel 2 meetings recently because we haven't had a quorum of members in order to do our business. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess this is a great time to remind people to put in those volunteer cards if you happen to be watching this.
It is.
Sometime later on YouTube.
I'm Theo Kinnemans. I'm chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, old chair and also new chair, just recently reappointed. As you all know, the Zoning Board of Appeals is a very reactive board. We're not proactive at all. We just deal with the cases that are submitted to us and respond to them. With the exception of our 240B project, that's now reduced to 140B project that, most of you all know that we approved de novo residences a couple of months ago now, so that project is going forward. The residences at the Thoreau Club at Forest Ridge, there's a meeting tomorrow night that is going to be continued for at least a month or 2. Again, as the applicant is doing, needs a couple of things, but also is doing some additional investigations. I think they heard the comments and complaints and issues from the town loud and clear, and are trying to implement some of the those comments, and just need time, excuse me, need time to do so. So I'll give a quick update on what exactly is going on tomorrow at the meeting. There will be no discussion on the project, Just wanted the members and then also the abutters, stakeholders to know what's going on in a little bit more detail than I'm saying now, but so that it is clear what's going on and that they eventually will be coming back with what's looking like quite a different plan than what they have now. So I'm hopeful for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stefan Bader, Chair of the Concord Housing Authority. We don't have to revisit our charge because it's in state statute, so it's pretty clear. But we do have our issues with process and time of getting things done, especially approvals from the state Office of Housing and Livable Communities, in particular on their approval of our paperwork to get the latest units that we've acquired added to the state housing inventory. But it's going forward. Eventually, we'll get there. On the good news front, we recently received a $1.3 million sustainability fund grant for heat source air pumps to be installed at Everett Gardens and Everett Gardens expansion, which will accomplish so many goals. Efficiency, probably equally important for seniors, is air conditioning for the first time for some of them, either the first time or without window units. Obviously, for seniors on those really hot days, it's important to not be in extreme temperatures. Other news to report, recently the executive director and I were on Beacon Hill on Lobby Day, arguing for an increased allocation in the budget for public housing agencies. And otherwise, maintenance, seasonal maintenance continues, and we at this point have much fewer vacancies than we had in the past. The first of 3 units that was I don't want to say redeveloped, renovated on Bedford Street is occupied. The other 2 are coming along, and they were recently visited by the chairman or secretary of something, Housing Livable Communities. They changed the name.
Yes, yes.
And he looked at that most recently renovated unit on Bedford Street while he was continuing his tour of all 250-odd housing authorities throughout the state. So thanks to our legislators, Simon Cataldo also was present for that, and that's the update from the Housing Authority.
Progress on Asset Bluffs and the driveway for that?
I think
So
Keith will talk about that.
No, actually, Keith is for CMAHT, but the driveway that you're referring is for the property at Bedford, not Bedford, Old Marlborough Road, the Concord Housing Development Corp., and I don't see anybody here from that group.
Yep.
Oh.
This is Dan Drazen on Zoom.
Oh, Dan, you are. Okay, I'll let you take that question when you get to it. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I missed that question about.
Yeah, we'll come back to you,
406
Dan.
Old Marlborough project.
We'll come back to you, Dan.
I'm Nancy Nelson with the Concord Historical Commission, and sitting in for our chair, Alan Bogosian, this morning. We are in the middle of a transition period. We have recently expanded our membership almost by 100%. So we have many more very accomplished people now, specialized areas, including a member of the Concord Minutemen. So that's a great new perspective for us. We are in the middle of updating the historic preservation plan for the town, and among other surveys in town, there is a survey online on the Historical Commission's page about what you would like to see with historic preservation in this town. The Historical Commission co-sponsored the National Trust for Historic Preservation's event announcing Minuteman National Historical Park, Walden Woods, Pond, and Woods, and all the historical sites in this area as being on their nationwide 11 most endangered places in the United States. So that was an incredible event, actually, an important designation. We are collaborating with the 250th Permanent Memorial Subcommittee and provided, I think, some information about Parcel 1693 and are very grateful. Some of us attended a meeting that they held. A site visit was scheduled, but was totally rained out the moment we showed up. And we repaired to a safe shelter across the road for another hour or so. So we thank them for their collaboration, and we'll continue to work on that with them. The Historical Commission requested an archaeological overview of the site, and that probably needs more assistance and discussion. Minuteman National Historical Park recently shared their plans for the renovation of the trail at the North Bridge, and the Historical Commission supported the direction that they're headed, and I know they've also come to the Board of Selectmen already. So that's a piece of their huge work that's ongoing. We responded to the Hanscom Field expansion and some other hot topics in this town, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Hi there. I'm Randy Kring. I'm the new chair of the Board of Health. We have a newish board with my first year as chair and 2 new members on the 5-member board. The Division of Health is busy with camp, pool, and beach inspections going on now. There's a new health inspector that's starting on May 20th, which is exciting. And we'd like to promote community awareness of the Wellness Week at the library, which runs from May 20th to 27th. The Health Division is supporting that Wellness Week with a table on mental health awareness. So if you can spread the word about that, that would be appreciated. There's information on the town website. And one other thing that we're doing is supporting physicals for children at the shelter and at the Best Western, pre-participation physicals for camp attendance over the summer. So that's the board.
Thank you, Randy.
Randy, just one question.
Yeah.
Where does the well regulations?
The well regulations were passed at the last meeting. There was an extra meeting at the beginning of April, and updated well regulations were passed.
Okay, and remind me, is that something that's going to come before town meeting this time around?
There was discussion the board has not met this month, but when the new board meets, we'll likely discuss components of the well regulations had been under consideration for a town meeting topic, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm Joe Palumbo. I'm one of the co-chairs of the DEI Commission, along with my co-chair, Andrea Fonserrada. We continue our work this year on 2 areas of focus: elevating the voices and visibility of Black, Indigenous people of color in the town of Concord, and doing the same area of focus around elevating celebration of the LGBTQ+IA community in the town. Specifically, I'm sure, as you well know, we were very happy that on town meeting there was an overwhelming vote of over 800 folks who supported the article around encouraging the school committee to name the school after our Black heroine, Ellen Garrison, in the town. That continues to move forward. We continue to wait for the DEI Commission is asking for a response from the school committee, and we're waiting for that. This is also Asian American Pacific Islander Month. We're helping support an event tomorrow night at the library. If you're free, it's also going to be streamed online. Colonel Love from the National Guard Museum is helping tell the story of a man named Benjamin Kim Lau. Kim Lau is one of the most famous Chinese-American World War II veterans. celebrated quite heavily in New York City, but quite unknown to many Concordians. He was born in Concord. And so we're going to tell his story. And we've had folks from New York reach out, and they're sending us pictures that have never been seen before about his life. So that's a really neat way to celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Month tomorrow night at the library or online. Juneteenth is coming up, and with the support of the Select Board, we're working on the same celebration as last year with a flag raising and a day of activities. June will be Concord Pride Month for the first time. We've had incredible support from faith community, Concord Recreation, the Concord Library. There's a little flyer in the lobby, if you haven't picked it up, that shows you all the events going on for Concord Pride. And the big festival is going to be the second to last weekend in June. We'll talk more about that next month. And then sort of for our committee in the year ahead, starting to think about goals for next year. And I know one of them that relates directly to this group is how on our committees we actively try to seek more diverse membership, and what are different and creative ways so we can find voices that may not always end up on a Concord committee, how we get them in there. We don't have a plan yet, but that's definitely something we're going to try to help support us all on, to seek these people out, because they definitely live here. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, I'm going to go online. I'm going to just start at the upper left corner. Keith.
Thanks very much. Keith Bergman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. Welcoming our Vice Chair, Mary Hartman, to the Trust. So we had our first meeting of the new board yesterday. We celebrated the actions of annual town meeting. Just to call out a couple of things. First and foremost, MBTA communities zoning. That was a huge event for the town. We appreciate very much the leadership of the planning board and the select board, and the support of all the housing groups for getting that through. Happy about the fossil fuel-free development bylaw passing as well. We are focusing, or one of the big things coming up in the next month is a final push for the state to pass a real estate transfer fee to fund municipal affordable housing trusts. That's a provision in the Governor's Affordable Homes Act, which is going to be debated by the House probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then to the Senate in the final, and hoping for action before the legislature adjourns on July 31st. So that's going to be a big push, and the trust will have a balance of $2.5 million as of July 1st, with an additional $500,000 from CPC, for which we're grateful. But most of that money is already committed for projects that we'd like to have proceed, and we're looking to get additional revenue stream from a real estate transfer fee. We've been a 5-member committee. We're expanding it to 7. Linda Escobedo, who was our select board rep, has been nominated by the select board to fill a 6th position, and we are advertising for a 7th position. So if you would like, for those watching who are interested in the work of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, please apply. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Keith. Carol, let me see. Janet Miller?
Janet Miller, co-chair of the Climate Action Committee with Brad Hubbard-Nelson. I keep on hearing membership's down. It's the same for the Climate Action Committee. We have several members whose term expired. We've been looking for people who are interested, and then I think Brad has identified a couple of people who are interested, and hopefully they will join and be appointed. I have to make a comment about the Zoom AI minutes, which were not terribly helpful. There was a lot of confusing things when they were generated. So I think there's a lot of need for improvement, and I'm I guess they're minimally helpful, but not wonderful. Okay, some achievements. We did an audit, or a couple of people were working on an audit to measure the drop in carbon dioxide emissions since 2008. And they've dropped 37%, which sounds good, but most of that was through the electricity, which is mostly coming from sustainable sources now. So, got a lot of work to do, but the easiest part is done. One of the things that we did do in March to encourage people to retrofit their homes with heat pumps was to have a very successful open house event, and we're hoping to do that again in the fall. And the other thing I wanted to say is we did write a letter in response to the draft environmental impact report, highlighting some of the misleading statements, but it's also central to climate action because private jets emit more carbon dioxide per passenger than any other form of transport. And so it's really against the climate action that the surrounding towns and the entire state of Massachusetts. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Janet. Mark, do you want to go next? Mark Galis?
Good morning. Thank you very much. Mark Galis, Chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. So I just want to report that we're very focused with excellent staff support from planning, public works, and engineering on this roughly year-long comprehensive transportation plan with the consultant Stantec. And we are definitely encouraging any members of the public, any committees that have transportation-related concerns or suggestions to get in touch with us. As was mentioned by the chair of Hayward Meadow Stewardship Committee, I'm happy to put anybody on, give them some time on agenda to present to the TAC and engage in discussion. Another thing I wanted to just mention is that our last meeting, last Thursday, we opened a discussion of what are some of the things that Concord would like to request from the MBTA. And we're starting to assemble a fairly long list of things that we want to flag for staff to pursue so that they can sit down at the table with the appropriate level of people at MBTA and negotiate these things. It's also been brought to my attention by staff that the MBTA makes requests from Concord periodically. So this is hopefully a beginning of sort of a higher level two-way street comprehensive discussion. And just to point out two specific things, one of the requests would be to continue and follow on the request that was made in 2015 by the town to the MBTA to provide some kind of accessible boarding platforms at Concord Thorough Depot, where people, not only people who are have mobility issues, but anybody carrying a bicycle, traveling with a young child, packages, suitcase, it's a significant challenge and a safety concern to mount those very steep steps. A second, out of a long list, a second specific example is a possible request for an easement adjustment in the area where the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail overlaps the Junction Park in West Concord Center, where there's a possibility to implement a plan that would separate bicycle traffic through the trail from the users of the park. But I encourage people to give us their input and join us in trying to move some of these things forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Carolyn? Carolyn, are you still on?
Yeah, so I'm Carolyn Bodum. I'm the outgoing chair of the West Concord Junction Cultural District Committee. Starting next month, this meeting will be attended by our two new co-chairs, Sue Beck and Helene Clayton. So we're busy finishing up this year. Between now and the end of June, we'll have Porch Fest, we'll unveil the poetry phone, we'll have painted 3 signal boxes, we'll have a community painting project, and we'll launch a new West Concord brochure. And so that's what we'll be doing to finish up. And then we're already planning for next year. And probably the major project for next year is creating sidewalk decals that will feature children's art on a 250th anniversary theme. And we thank the select board and Mimi and many, and Shannon and many other town employees. Perhaps our biggest accomplishment this year is everybody working together to come up with a workable approval process for public art. So we're very grateful for that. It will make our work much easier. So that's about it.
One of the signal boxes you're painting is right in front of the condo association where I live, so I think that's your biggest accomplishment this year.
And actually, features West Concord history, and we're working with the artist to make sure it's historically accurate. So
thank you.
And Porch Fest is this weekend, isn't it? No. No? What's the date?
Oh, so the unveiling of the poetry phone is this weekend, but the signal boxes will be painted during the month of June.
And what's the date for Porch Fest?
That is June 8th.
June 8th, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. I see, Dan, you've got your hand up. Do you want to talk next?
That would be great.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Dan Drazen with the Concord Housing Development Corporation. In addition to being excited about the passage of the MBTA Communities Act at town meeting, we're focused more locally on the Old Marlborough Road project, 406 Old Marlborough Road, sometimes referred to as the Assabet River Bluff project. This is the addition of 3 new single-family homes, 2 3-bedrooms and a 1-bedroom that we're going to make available for homeownership at below market rates. And we have put out an RFP. We got responses back from 2 organizations, Habitat for Humanity being one, and Common Ground being a second group out of Lowell. So we're evaluating those proposals now, but these would be for 3 homes in addition to the 2 homes that are already on the property. So we're going through that process and hoping to make a selection in sometime this summer so that we can hopefully break ground before the end of this calendar year. That's our goal.
Great. You have a question?
Yeah, I had a question about whether the access for the trail, parking for handicap, because that's going to be a handicap trail at Assabet back, whether you're going to share that with the Natural Resources Commission.
Did you hear that, Dan?
The question was about the parking for the trail that exists today.
The handicap trail that's being put in by Natural Resources, if there could be a handicap parking spot for people to use that trail.
So I think you're talking about the all-access trail?
Yes.
That goes along the riverbank, right?
Yes.
Yes, it'll be the new Assabet Bluffs handicap access trail off of the bike trail and also off of either Old Marlborough or Upland.
I have to say this is the first time hearing about this trail, so I just would have to look into that.
Great. That's my point.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Susan, thank you for being patient.
Hi, everyone. I am Susan Malota-Zenek. I'm chair of the West Concord Advisory Committee. For those of you that don't know, we are a subcommittee of the Planning Board, and we're celebrating the fact that we have a full committee for the first time in a couple of years. So we have a full complement of members, including 2 associates, which is amazing. We are also excited that the MBTA Communities Act approval was passed at town meeting because our committee was definitely in support of that. We are meeting tonight and we'll be reviewing our charge as was requested by the select board, and we're going to be having an extra meeting with the planning board this month, next week, to kind of get aligned with their priorities and make sure that our committees are working more closely together in the future. And a couple of projects that our committee has been undertaking in past months are reviewing our West Concord design guidelines, which at this point are about a dozen years old and could stand to be refreshed. And we also have been talking about the concept of a West Concord Greenway that would knit together some of the open spaces in West Concord into a more kind of coherent plan that people could visit those different spaces when they come to West Concord.
Great, thank you, Susan. Have I missed any chairs? Is there anyone online that I haven't acknowledged who's a chair that would like to speak? Great. I just want to, I should have at the beginning of the meeting given this group an update on what's happening with the MCI Advisory Board. We have identified people, a very impressive group of people within Concord. We are going to nominate them next week and appoint them on June 3rd. So that committee will be fully empaneled and ready to go in the first weeks of June. So you'll be hearing more about that. So, oh, wait, there is.
Can you hear me?
We can.
It's Bob Beaver. I had problems with my I'm on my cell phone right now, so.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't get a chance. I'm Bob Abraham on Hugh Cargill Trust Committee, soon to be replaced. I'm the co-chair, but soon to be replaced. We got 3 great applicants we're reviewing now, so I'm one position, so we're happy about that. We've just released new guidelines for our property tax relief program, and we'll be sending out letters to people on the list. And it'll be for fiscal 2025 tax year. So, and if you know anybody that needs help, we would certainly like to help them out. So we'll continue to do that. And I'm not sure if this is my last meeting or maybe the next one, but anyway, great working with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you for all you do. It's amazing the work we get accomplished. Thank you for coming, and let's keep up the good work.